Uh, I think it's a lot of things. Uh, Starting Rick with, we start four guards, we start 2 point guards, but I think it's the character of the individuals involved and their understanding of sharing the ball, moving the ball, uh, leads to success essentially. So they all protect it. They're all really good with the ball, making plays. They understand how to feed the post. They understand how to, read screening action, read switching action, whatever comes your way. But, they're all just, I think, really good with the ball and know how to move without the ball as well and how to get open.
Michael Oz.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, Fran.
Thanks, Mike.
I mean, I assume that you've had plenty of time by yourself as well as the players. How have you used the time as a coach this week?
Well, for most of the time, Mike, we could meet as a staff. It was just that one period where, this tournament began and we had to have two positive tests. So it was really, about a day. And what I did then was I had tape on my iPad, so I just worked off my iPad in my room. But since then, we've been able to meet as a staff, eat as a team. So it's pretty much business as usual, except that we're not leaving the facility.
Is it easier in some ways as coaches?
I'll say this, Mike. It's not really all that much different. I mean, when we're when we're on the road, when we're here in the NCAA tournament, but it wouldn't matter that much if we were just on the road to play one game. I mean, we're in the meeting room anyway. It's not like we're walking around town sightseeing. I would like for the players to have the opportunity to go outside. Of course, the weather hasn't been great, but to, go out and get some fresh air, walk around the block, walk downtown, that would be nice. But their time is pretty regimented. There's just a little bit more downtime for them right now, which they probably don't care for, but I think we all recognize that it's critical that we handle our business this way.
Chad Leistiko.
Hi, Fran. Congrats on the contract extension. Just wanted to ask about kind of your appreciation for, I guess, the university and the Iowa City community, thinking back to your kids being so small when you got here. Now you're going to see them all go through high school in Iowa City.
Yeah, I feel very blessed, Chad, and thankful. I've said from the beginning that I take incredible pride in being the Hawkeye coach. I know what that means. But I've been very fortunate. I work with and for really good people. And, we look at the games and we look at wins and losses, but this is my livelihood. And you want to be able to come to work and know that there's people that you can count on and people that are working diligently every day so that our student athletes can have the best possible experience. And we're all in this together. We're committed to doing it the right way, following the NCAA rules, recognizing how hard it is in this league, the best league there is. So, for me professionally, I think that sums it up. But, there's the family side, and you're right, it was a big move for our family to come out here. I knew it would be a great fit for them, but they didn't know that at the time. They were young, and a lot of it fell on Margaret. But they had wonderful experiences in this community with their friends, and at West High, it's been great for our family. And then to have two boys on the team, they grew up coming to practice, hanging around the players, being in the locker room, and now they're in the locker room. Is very, I think, emotional for me when the when our name came up, and it's just us. We would typically have had more people, watching that, but it's just the players and the coaches. But to have both Connor and Patrick in there with their buddies, their brothers, their best friends, is just a tremendous feeling for all of us. So we're very thankful with how our family was received into the Iowa City community, into the entire state of Iowa. And we'll just keep working hard and trying to do things the right way.
Go to Kevin Fielder from the fifth quarter. Go ahead, Kevin.
Hey, Coach. Grand Canyon has a big man who has the size, at least, to compete with Luka. How do you make sure that Luka can still get to his shots and still get involved in the offense early, despite having to play that kind of big size?
He's really good, by the way, and they have more than one. And so they have a big team, and they have really good players and a really good coach. But we pretty much see that every night in our league. Every team has a big man like that. So it's something that we're used to in terms of how we try to set Luka up and how we try to run our offense successfully. We many ways run it through him, but we've got a really good point guard. We've got great shooters. We've got other pieces that we incorporate. So from that standpoint, it's not going to be that different. We just have tremendous respect for Grand Canyon, their personnel, and the job that Bryce has done.
Go to Lucas Weiss. Go ahead, Lucas.
Fran, obviously Lucas played in the March Madness before a couple years back, but I'm just sort of curious from what you've seen of him this year, like what will make him thrive in this big stage in these next few weeks?
Well, he was really good, 2 years ago when we were in the NCAA tournament. He was tremendous. We ran stuff for him, and in many ways, that year was, I think, the year that he really blossomed. It started with great trepidation when he had the major surgery, and we didn't even know if he'd play again. He was MVP in New York at Madison Square Garden at 2K Classic, and really just had a spectacular season. And by the end of the year, we were going to him. So that was a foreshadowing of what was to come. And he's been on a big stage ever since. In our league. He's recognized on a national level, first team All-American. So, for him, I think he's kind of used to it.
Scott Docterman.
Yeah, Fran, in what ways has kind of the defensive improvements has helped your 3-point defense, meaning that the principles seem to be stronger, the consistency seems to be better in defending the three? Is that in part to kind of going more man as opposed to kind of switching zones frequently?
I think, it's one of the reasons why, more teams don't play zone. They're worried about the three. You're going to give up some 3-point shots. I think in theory, and then sometimes in practicality, a little bit more if you're in zone. So, you give somebody a responsibility to guard their man and then understand team defensive man-to-man concepts, especially as it relates to ball screen roll, replace, any kind of action that comes out of a ball screen, whether it may be ball screen continuity. So that can sometimes create issues with giving up threes. But I just think in general, you're going to be closer to your man in man-to-man, and that's why I think most teams play man-to-man.
And our last question from Chad Leistico. Go ahead, Chad.
Sorry, this is going to be a real easy one, but do you guys get a chance to shoot in the Indiana Farmers Coliseum, or when do you know if you get?
We haven't yet. There? I'm sure we will, Chad, but right now the practices are pretty much confined to the courts that are set up in the convention center that we can walk to. It's really an amazing setup. We have a full weight room, and then we have a private area with our own court. So we have 2 hours today to be in there, and the guys are anxious to get in there. They want to practice, but they also just want to get some shots up. So eventually we'll get over there.
All right, I guess we do have time for one last question if anybody has one to close out. Go ahead, Rick Brown.
Yeah, Coach. Connor, one of Connor's strengths is his post-entry feed. Is that something he's just worked on over the years, or has he got good coaching on that? How's that worked?
Yeah, I think he's always been somebody that understands how to move it and pass it and angles. He played a variety of positions in high school for Coach Bergman. He was in various locations, and I think it was important. He had some really talented guys on his team when he was there. That helped. And then when he got here, we had Luka, we had, Tyler Cook, we had Ryan Kriener, we had Jack Nungy. And it's something that we focus on and work on. And he's always been particularly good at it, and it's a critical part of our offense.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate
Hey, Luka, Grand Canyon obviously has the size to try and compete with a player like you who, is up for competition in the National Player of the Year honors. But, how do you try and make sure that size doesn't get to you early and, you're able to get to your game?
Honestly, I've been playing against that size for 4 years now. Obviously, in the Big Ten, you got a lot of people who are big and really good. So, I'm definitely used to playing guys my size at this point. But, I'm definitely excited for this matchup. And I think he's a really, really good big, and he uses his size well. He's really efficient from the field. But yeah, no, I think it's not something that affects me anymore, because I'm so used to it now.
Grant Becker, go ahead.
Look, I don't know if you heard my question for Connor, but I was kind of asking him about the similarities between that 2019 Tennessee team that was the last team you played in the NCAA tournament and you guys this year, with being top 5 teams the whole year. Kind of you and Grant Williams both coming back after having opportunities at the professional level. And what kind of lessons maybe you can take from that team because of the parallels between you guys and sort of the run that you gave them in that tournament?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think they are obviously, one of the best teams all year that year. I think they even slid up to number 1 at some point and ended up as a 2 seed. And they came out, really hot, and obviously we're taking care of business. And I think they took their foot off the gas a little bit, and that's when they allowed us to get back in the game and almost win it. So I think, if there's any lesson there, obviously we know that we have the capability to beat anybody, and we return some guys from that team, and we know what it feels like to be right there in a game to go to the Sweet 16. So we have a lot of experience with that. And, I think, it was a memorable game in terms of the pain afterwards, of almost getting there and not being able to do it. So that's something that's stuck in my head since that moment. So we're really excited about the opportunity to hopefully get there again.
Mike Halas.
Luke, I asked Connor this a moment ago, but what's this week been like for you with a lot of solitary confinement and just the unusual lifestyle that you find yourself in?
I think it's been different, but it's kind of just been pretty much similar to what we've been doing all year. We haven't been leaving the house anyway to do anything besides go to the gym. So, there's obviously more freedom when you're not here in the bubble, but it's very similar in terms of daily testing and not being able to, go outside or go to restaurants. So I think these are things we've been avoiding all year to make sure that we, stay safe and aren't exposed or anything like that. So, I think we've gotten used to this lifestyle at this point, and we're all here for a reason. We know what we want to do. So, we're very excited about the opportunity to get out there and play. It's honestly, it's been kind of cool, just in terms of getting closer with my teammates. I know, I've been doing that all year, but even now, just the only people I'm around are my teammates. So it's fun.
Tom Kakert.
Luka, the backdrop is behind you, the March Madness and everything. This is what you came back for? Has it hit you kind of in the face, kind of that this is what you came back for and this is what you wanted to have this year?
I mean, yeah, exactly. I came back to play with this team, these guys, and I came back to play in this tournament. So, this is something I've been locked into for a while now. And obviously not having this tournament last year has added to the motivation, since that moment. So, I think, it's very exciting to be here, and I'm just trying to be in the present moment, not worry about anything else, but just right now, and then focusing on Grand Canyon, taking one game at a time. And I think, we have a chance to do something special if we play like we're capable of.
Our final question comes from Lucas Weiss with the Undefeated. Go ahead, Lucas.
Hey, Luka, thanks for doing this. It's been noted that your father, Frank, used to show you videos of, former NBA players like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I'm just curious how influential he's been in your basketball journey, and what early memories do you have watching the March Madness with your family?
I have a lot of memories of watching March Madness, but I think, my dad has been so influential on my life on and off the floor. He's the reason I am here today, and he taught me the game, and he's still a guy who teaches me the game and continues to show me stuff that I don't know, and I'm always a guy who wants to learn, so I try to absorb as much as I can, and I think, that's the coolest part about having him, as my dad is just, it's more than just my dad. He's my trainer, he's my coach, he's a friend, it's all of those things. So I'm very blessed to have him and my mother, because my mother's also, kind of plays the same role, just being a critique and helping me out as much as she can. What was the second part of your question? I forgot.
Yeah, just like any memories that you have growing up watching the March Madness. Like, did you guys watch, was there a particular game or a team that stands out in your mind?
Wow. I think there's a lot of them. I think, there's so many, but, I think I definitely liked North Carolina growing up. So when Tyler Hansbrough and Ty Lawson were playing together and they made that run in the tournament, that was fun to watch. I enjoyed watching both of those guys. Obviously, Ty Lawson kind of came from like my area, so that was cool too. I also think like when you saw George Mason or VCU kind of make it to the Final Four, I thought that was really cool, especially being like again, a team from my area. So I think there's a lot of memories that I can like think back on of watching the tournament. I was always so excited to be able to get home from school and start watching all these games. And I always dreamed to be a part of it one day. And, it's really cool to be here for the second time. Should be the third time if last year didn't happen. But I'm definitely excited to be here and be in this moment.
All right. Thanks, Luka. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Played together for so long now. Like, this has been a group that's been together. I feel like we have really good chemistry. We know what each other wants to do. We know, the moves that everyone's going to make. We know the situations that people want the ball in. And I just think as an experienced team, as a veteran team, we value every possession. We know how important the ball is. And with our offense being, what it is, we can't afford to have, dumb turnovers or anything like that lead to fast break points for the other team. But also, it takes our ability to get a shot on every possession away, which is something that we really need to do with the options for scoring that we have.
I understand you overruled the head coach on an out of bounds play that got Bohannon the career scoring record at Ohio State. You feel comfortable doing that?
Yeah. So sometimes, like he'll ask me a lot though, like if there's something I see, like he'll come up to me and he'll just say, is there something you see? Like, what do you think's going to work? And usually like I'll have something because, maybe it's a play we haven't run yet, or it's something, based on how they're playing that, we notice. And I think that that's a good thing to have. It's just somebody that, trusts what you see. And, I think he does the same thing with other people too. Like, based on, he'll ask Luka, based on how they're guarding him, or he'll ask, J-Bo, CJ, whoever. And, that I feel like that's a good relationship to have with your coach, just because, if he trusts you to be able to call things and, notice how the defense is playing stuff, then I feel like you're just going to be more successful.
Mike Kloss, go ahead.
Morning, Connor. What has the last week been like, especially this week? What I mean, we've heard that you guys have been in quarantine, but what does that mean? And just how much time have you spent alone?
Yeah, so we spend most of our day alone in our room because so we got out of quarantine Monday afternoon. We went into it Sunday night, and that was pretty much just stay in your room. You can't leave your floor. The only thing like you could go out of your room for was like to get ice or something if you needed it, like from like if you were sore. But other than that, you're completely in your room, and then we're just getting tested, and that was like our quarantine period. Other than that, though, I mean, it's pretty much consistently been a quarantine. You just are allowed to actually leave your room. You can go down to the meal room for breakfast. You get tested every day, and you have practice that you walk to. But other than that, you can't go outside. You can't, no like leisurely walks on a nice day. Like there's nothing like that. So you can't even just walk around the hotel. You get escorted everywhere. So like when we go down the elevator, there's a guy that knows every time, like what time we have meetings and stuff. And he walks from, the elevator to the meeting room. And then when we are done with our meeting, he walks from the meeting room back to the elevator. And there's can't walk around, no talking to people. Like, you see a friend, no, sorry. Like it's just kind of been a crazy experience, but it is what it is. I think it's just something that they needed to put in place to make sure this was all able to work. And, so we just gotta deal with it the best they can. I think the biggest thing like I've been thinking about is like a lot of teams talked about the Lakers during the NBA bubble, and they just said they were the best team to embrace that whole experience, and they were able to come out of it with a championship. They really, they didn't think about any of the things going wrong. They just completely embraced it, and they had fun with it, and they were the ones that stayed in there the longest and were able to come out of there with a championship. So I think that that's something we could try to replicate.
It sounds like it's got to be mentally taxing, I would think. But what do you say?
Yeah, no, I think it's mentally taxing. I would say it's maybe the worst like on my sleep schedule, just because I'm in a bed like 15 hours a day. I get pretty tired, so probably asleep too much, probably not studying enough. Because that's another thing too, is we still got to log on to class and everything, when available. So I would say that's definitely one thing. There's like times you can reserve to like do things, but I don't really like, we're not really understanding how that works yet. Like yesterday, we went to the weight room for the first time, and you get like 30 minutes in there in a slot. And so that was good, just to do something different than just, sitting in your room and then practicing. But yeah, I think, it's definitely been interesting, to say the least. I've never experienced anything like it. And I, like I said, I just think it's something we're going to have to deal with, since we're planning on being here for a while.
And our last question for Connor comes from Grant Becker. Go ahead, Grant.
Connor, the last NCAA tournament game you guys played was against Tennessee. I'm not sure how much you remember about that Tennessee team, but they were a top 5 team the whole season. They had a couple of guys in that roster that had flirted with the NBA. Grant Williams was a Player of the Year candidate the season before. I see a lot of similarities between kind of their journey that season and what you guys have been doing this year. Do you see any similarities, and do you think there's lessons you can maybe take from that 2019 team for this 2021 Iowa team?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember that game. That was a great Tennessee team. They had experience, which is something we have. They had shooters, which is something we have. They had a really, really good big guy in Grant Williams, which is something we have. And, I think up and down the line, there's similarities, like you said. And, I just think that game, the one thing we remember is just, how close we were to, a Sweet 16. And so, the lesson we take from that game is just, just the pain and use that as motivation. I think that we as a team, we had lofty goals coming into this season, and, the only way we're going to achieve that is if we stay completely locked in and focused, every single day. And that's something that, that team obviously did. They had a great year that year, and that, that's something we want to do this year as well. And I think that, coming up on Saturday, we'll be ready. And then, from then on as well.
All right. Thank you, Connor.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bring